Всем доброе утро. Спасибо, что пришли послушать. Я надеюсь, что все...
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having come to listen. Um, I, I think that all the audience members are interested in ADHD first steps after diagnosis. My name is Albert Feigelson. I live and work in Israel, but I have my clients all over the world. This is the picture that we can talk about till tomorrow. I can discuss 8,000 of various experiments. I can provide information what should be done and how should it be done. But today I'd like to talk about something else, about the first step that people take upon leaving the psychologists and medical doctors cabinet. Why do the psychiatrists very soon I will publish a book on parents and children with ADHD. I usually start with an interview with an adult, very successful um, ADHD person with ADHD, discussing what should be done to alleviate the syndrome. And unfortunately, I should tell you that today we should understand and believe that this is not going to pass away. This is not going to transform. The person will have to live with it throughout their life. And what should you do to make your environment more convenient? This is something I'm going to discuss right now, and in the future you can attend my lectures or webinars. Why did the organizers of the conference allowed me to share my additional material after all the presentations are made. Today, jointly with my colleagues from St. Petersburg are providing a training course, a 24-hour training course, and there we are trying to tackle this subject matter right now, whereas right now I have to provide you with the entire information that you might need within a 20-minute span, so to say. Before I start talking about what you should do, I'd like to provide you with my background so you understand that I'm not just speaking empty words. I've been working with such children for many years. I have been studying for 5 years under a professor who was a person with ADHD. He never hid that fact away. He actually made his successful career. The faculty that I was studying in is the only faculty in the world where ADHD is studied um, along with children with behavioral complications. What is ADHD? There are various definitions of ADHD. They might be different from each other. I don't want to raise this subject. I don't want to take your time. As I said, a lot of the materials will be circulated amongst all the audience members after this presentation. The only thing I would suggest right now is something you can do by you can just subscribe for the presentation and some other publications. This lecture is going to be posted in the on the website. I will mainly concentrate uh, on spatial disorders. So I would call this social skills of skills of socializing, meaning that a kid should be provided with the proper environment so the child doesn't even feel that they have the syndrome of the ADHD syndrome. Oftentimes, children coming to us, parents bring children to us happy and and these children are happy, and they don't even know that they have the syndrome of ADHD. And our main task is to maintain this happiness of the child. And the earlier we start uh, coping with the problem, the better it will be for all the people in this situation. The less of experts partake of the child's life, the better it will be for the child in their life. When the child is diagnosed, they don't even know what is happening. They're happy. The child is strong. He talks a lot, thinking that he is making other people rejoice, and that's the way the child should think. We and parents should describe the situation uh, where we should start combining our efforts to correct his situation, his condition rather, so as to diminish the level of uh, his syndrome's expression. So we should start by providing the right kind of information. The greater problem today has to do with the internet. Oftentimes it's very raptured, it's very fragmented, and oftentimes our parents don't even know what the problem is all about. You should only have one physician, one doctor. He should be an expert. He or she should be an expert. But you, as parents, should foremostly understand your child, and to do it, you need to clearly understand what uh, this is all about and why does the child behave the way they are behaving. You should not accept them as they are. That's the greatest problem. I believe that accepting them as they are does not mean you should agree with their condition, but you should interact with the specialist. I would tell you that ADHD is not a court conviction, so to say. You should clearly understand what should follow what in the process of the corrective procedure. The entire person's life is going to be dedicated to their own efforts, dedicated to correcting themselves and their behavior in the society. The syndrome includes a lot of elements. Oftentimes, we do not even know what to start with, what to start tackling. The parents should they should express appropriate response. I don't believe in general recommendations and guidelines in this particular case. Your response should be based upon your resources, your specific life situation. When you should understand, there's no problem with providing you with a series of recommendations that will take 10 hours of your day. That is not a problem, but that's not the key thing. We need to understand what it is that the parents should know in terms of what kind of information they should receive to start implementing the corrective measures. I will also provide you with a material which will help you prepare the child to face the truth. And facing the truth does not mean you tell them that they have ADHD. No, but you need to somehow tell the child that they have some sort of peculiarities, and at some point the child will understand that there's something different about them. And if you want to help them, you need to convey information, impart the information to them so as to make their life simpler and more and easier. The child will partner with you. The child will partner up with you if you find an approach to the person uh, uh, to to im to impart information about the child's peculiarities, so as to teach the child how they should live. Mm, what are what we need to receive information whereby we will be able to establish an environment for the child to that will help, that will allow the child not to express their behavioral problem. This syndrome is expressed through their behavior, so we as parents should establish a situation, an atmosphere in the home that will suppress the undesirable the expression of the child's undesirable behavior. If you want to answer the question of how to do this, you will have to interact with the specialists. I would recommend for you to visit the school and talk to the parents of such children. Um, the school teacher can do so much and in this but in this area, and the greatest problem we have in children has to do with their motivation. We need to enhance their motivation, we need to encourage them. And I will tell you one thing: when other specialists are coming to me saying we should start doing this and that, I always say that it is not until after we establish an appropriate atmosphere in the child's home that that training courses will be helpful. When we visit the doctors, clinical doctors, and then come back to the routine conditions the child has is surrounded with in their home, we are only tackling 50% of the problem. The child is automatically behaving oftentimes. If we say that, should we say that the diagnosis is given at the child's age of 6 to 7 years. Prior to that, before that, the child does not really understand what's going on. Only at the age of 6 to 7 years, the child only starts to understand what it is that he or she should start adjusting, and the parents should leave aside what it is that they want, and they should take into account what the child needs to be done. The behavioral psychology has accumulated a huge experience of establishing pertaining to related to the establishment of the necessary environment for the child. I usually interact with children in their own environment in at home. I understand what should be changed right where they live. The cabinets, the medical doctors' cabinets, clinical cabinets, can be can have appropriate conditions, but that is not the most important thing. We need to introduce the appropriate conditions. We need to adjust the environment to such a child at their home. The simplest recommendations that I provide for the parent is that the child's room should not be one of a kindergarten or we always consider their chairs, their desks, their beds, and this is the most important thing at stage one. Uh, as we start correcting ADHD, and the rest of it is followed. that is, the parents of such children should be capable of accepting each other. They should be capable of adjusting their behavior. We all can correct ourselves. My The first major recommendation that I can give is to establish an appropriate routine throughout the day. What is the routine throughout the day? What should it what should it exclude? It should exclude the problematic actions and points throughout their day schedule, because the parents should first and foremost understand uh, what is the greatest difficulty of the child. For the absurd situation, for example, is that I ask the child to brush his or her teeth, and he or she doesn't do it because he or she doesn't know how to do this. And how should we prevent this problem from occurring? What should we do to make everybody happy? And that is the stage one of working with such children. Even when the specialist advises you to make the child to do their bed, you should be capable of doing the child's bed for them instead of them. You could have scolded your child. You could have yelled at them. You should stop scolding and raising up your voice, because this is very important. Right? To date, over 6,500 researches have been implemented in this area. But I have been using the definition of a Canadian author, publications author, Virginia Douglas, which has put forth which has coined the theory of the four greatest deficits, comprising the disease in consideration. Our main task at stage one is to learn, support the child's motivation. We need to provide emotional help to the children to overcome the problems that they have. Our We should help such children to take it easy. If we go back to the daily routine for a second, I will circulate the entire list of daily routine requirements, but I'd like to say that children should learn how to be independent, how to act on their own. And You can start by simple things. You can start by teaching them how to put books in how to set things in order in their room, how to do their bed. If you ask what is the most important thing at stage one, it is not to accept the child as they are, but to start working with these problems. You need to you need to come up with proper conditions that would make the child feel comfortable. Don't raise your hand. You need to make the child believe that they are capable of anything. They can do whatever it takes. They will have to have overcome a long way. As I said, my book starts with an interview which I took from an adult person with ADHD syndrome. The parents should acknowledge that this diagnosis is in place, that would and to start interacting with their children. Thank you very much for your attention. and I will provide you with the materials I promised to provide. Thank you very much.
Спасибо большое всем спикерам. Спасибо. Наша красивая девочка подключилась тоже.
I'd like to thank all the speakers. This is our beautiful girl here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Narmin, for having been with us and for moderating this session. Hi, hello. We've been fellowshipping, communicating with this girl, and she's absolutely astounding. We carry on to the Q&A session right now. I am pressurized a lot because we lag behind right now.
Because some of our speakers are in English. So I'm under the high pressure because we are getting late and behind the schedule. So I need to be really quick with the questions. And the first question is going to Евгений. Евгений, можно ли разговорить ребенка в 5 лет, аутический спектр, с 3 лет занимается с разными терапиями?
Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте, уважаемые коллеги. Do I need to speak in English or in Russian?
Anything, whatever you feel comfortable.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank you for invitation me to this Congress, and I'm very pleased. And the first before I will answer to your question, I would like just to say that we are all united with help to children with special needs, to children with autism, and in this all situation, I just need to give you words of peace. Okay, so
thank you. And so going to the subject, like again, I mean, I will be suffering more from the organizers rather than you guys. So please help me.
All right. So your question was about 5 years old child, yeah?
Exactly.
So, we need to understand these periods of development of all his psychological functioning. And when we are talking about his periods, we need to understand that the sensitive period for the development of speech is between 1 or 2 years old. So this is a window when our brain is ready for development of words and for development of phrases. So when we see, for example, in clinic or in some other setting, a child with no speech, for example, with, I don't know in English, maybe mutism, like, I think it's the same.
Mutism?
Mutism, yeah,
right.
Like the same. So when his speech is completely, or when his productive speech is completely switched off, we need to understand the reasons of it. And if, for example, in the interview with mother or with father, we are going to understanding that he is in such situation where he doesn't need to use his speech. And all the situation when he doesn't need to use his speech, it's very sufficient because, for example, if all his home setting is set it up when he asks something, yeah, this skill of asking is the most important. When he don't need to ask something, and the parents are set it up to give him before he will ask with his anger, for example, he don't need to use it for that speech. So first of all, we are understanding this, and there are situations where we can learn him with asking skill and to develop his productive speech. If his brain and if his neuron system is not ready for this, for some reasons, we can use, for example, alternative communication, which is also, for example, PEX cards, which is also useful for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And the next question. Альберт, переключимся к вам. Евгений, я знаю, что...
Albert, we switch on to you, Evgeny. I know that you're in a hurry. Thank you for having been with you. I will still be here with you. Thank you very much, Albert. The ADHD subject is very well familiar, as I've heard a lot of questions. I've had a lot of questions asked to me, and there are questions asked to you. At which age the child could be diagnosed as having ADHD? I will provide you with an additional information. I'll provide a short definition. While at the age of 6, we can use cartoons to point out a hero with ADHD syndrome, starting from Peter Pan and ranging to anybody else. At the age of 10, there is a real danger when children read themselves and they start diagnosing themselves. And it's in this particular case, a specialist should talk to the parents to make them understand what this is all about. The most dangerous thing is when a child is diagnosing himself or herself. The internet-based information is very different and incorrect for the most part. We need to filter out information. We need to screen information pertaining to any area of knowledge, let alone this one. And when I was talking to somebody said that when the entire world gives up on the problem, people with ADHD step out and help everyone. Victoria, thank you very much. There have been a lot of comments written here about the music therapy and so on. Please point out the open references to open sources that parents could use to glean on useful recommendations. For example, there was a question as to should a child listen to music at night. We come up with a protocol based upon the child's age, cognitive and emotional problems. And in this regard, we will exactly identify whether the music should sound during their sleep or after they wake up. Now we see Evgeny write something, so you can also join in with us.
Which is summarizing the questions we're having from different people, is like, is there the future for those which are different from whatever we call the matrix and the template of the human? Okay, can they be successful? Can it build up a career? You're consulting lots of the business structures, business entities. You are the part of the business community, female and all integrated one. What are the prospects? And I always want to bring the not the word of hope, but a real real feedback. So what do you think of the prospects and the future of the inclusive society?
Thank you for your question. And as you know, I'm a business psychologist, and I'm working with adults. And the life of business people are really very difficult, especially the parents' life is very difficult than the others, which they have the children in need of help. I have a word in this case. If the adults can manage their own emotions and they can better manage their kids' life. And so if you want to build a good career for your child and for your own selves, you have to understand your emotions, and you have to understand your emotions and thoughts. And after that, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your child. And the world is changing, and world is going towards to the thing that do what you want, do what you love, and go ahead. Don't be afraid. So my own thought and my own thing is to say to all the adults that please trust yourself, trust your child, and do what they want. Make them allow to what they want.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Trust yourself, trust your child, love yourself, and love your child.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Спасибо всем. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are now putting on the video, which I totally adore. So after that, we will be switching to the next session. But dearest speakers, thank you so much. Narmin, thank you separately for moderating that. So I'm asking the administrators to switch to the video and wishing you absolutely wonderful day. Thank you.
Yiyeyim sen burnunu.
Я думаю, что самое ключевое... Самое ключевое, на самом деле, то, что мы всегда озвучиваем, это люди, которые отличаются от нас.
Of course, people who are different from us, but people who are part of what we are and who we are. We are moving to the next session, which I believe like all of the sessions are critical. But when we speak about the, the support and what they live in the families, and therefore I would like to pass the floor to Nurlana, who is going to moderate the next session. And please, do you hear me well? Yes, we can hear you well. I would like to continue in Azerbaijani language, if I may, if it is possible. And my name is Nurlana Aliyeva. I work in an international company as HR professional.
I'm an expert working with international.
I wanted to show you my family picture here in the background, but
show the photo of my family.
And
but due to technical glitches, I couldn't do that. I couldn't show my family photo in the background. I'm the mother of 3 children, and It's well known to many, and I've been quite engaged in this process. So my second child is certainly has been diagnosed with Down syndrome. So this very topic, this event is quite close to me. I'm very grateful to the organizers for having given me a chance to speak at this event. The event that I'm about to be moderate is very much closely associated with my past experience. And I'd like to pass the floor to the experts in a minute, but nevertheless, there is something I'd like to raise with regards to this issue. So my viewers, my listeners, I'm appealing to you. So not too long ago, I read the Analyst, the book I just suggest to many, to those who are quite interested, strongly recommended with Mr. Daniel's book. So this is an interesting story that what I'd like to share the message that I myself so if we as individuals, if a society accept and embrace people for who they are with their attractive and change them as a full-fledged members of our society by the virtue of our relentless support, unwavering support, in other words, we will certainly would streamline the certain lifestyles of their sisters and siblings and sorrows and others are quite unique and different. Let's not be afraid of being different. So rather establish so to bring about an inclusive setting. Let's certainly try to break certain norms. Let's try to do away with certain pressures over the parents and also we try to appreciate, wish good luck to parents and perseverance and forbearance, if you will, to parents in their noble cause, in their pursuit on their children. So I'd like to once again pass the floor to Dr. Albert Feigelson on analytics on behavior on the fathers and sons and the modern approach to the problems. Please, sir, the floor is all yours.
Доброе утро всем. Спасибо, что пришли.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming here. Actually, I'm so proud to participate at this conference. The topic I was assigned just made me rejoice. Fathers and children in that topic have been living with for decades. I just implemented many projects, and you see on the screen that fathers and children, just the Jewish dad is my personal page. I'm speaking about that. I'm narrating about the life in Israel, and in summer there would be a book published about the notes of the father, notes of the dad. In fact, this notion has got so wide meaning. I believe that the biggest responsibility is being a father. Actually, from the very onset, I had so many doubts if I would be in position to convey so much information about the instrument. Personally, I'm a behavior analyst. I'm just always judge people by their behavior and actions, and I deal with behavior as well. When I ask myself why I'm ready to implement this project, once I thought that I cannot believe that there is even a single dad who would not like to hear from his kids that dad, I love you. Just I judge them by my friends, acquaintances. I just look what happens globally. Just on the one hand, it's very easy to speak about this topic. On the other hand, it's very challenging. I would like to narrate my personal stories, the stories I was part of. Maybe they will push you or just drive you to do anything. Maybe just you were mistaken somewhere and you may make challenge. Actually, the first very story is very moving, but also teaching. Just there is a lot of ideas about the human notion. A year and a half I've been working in my practice on I'm a behavior analyst. I come from Israel, and it's a big bulk of my activities. It's kids with SDPG syndrome. It's people with behavior, and I generally work with them with fairy tales. The story I invent by my own. We invent them together, and then the entire family at home reads it. But the kid believes that it's my fairy tales. The big protagonists are dad and mom. But 1 year ago, I was invited to work with a kid in Minsk, and I just said, Luca, hello. I would like to narrate or to invade a fairy tale together with you. There was no any storm, and Luca looks at me and said, you are the second magician in my life. I said, oh, this guy knows how to narrate a story. So very glad that I'm second. Later, you tell me now about the first one. I just sent him a piece of fairy tale. Luca was the key protagonist, together with dad, mother, and sister. And in the evening, they sent me a picture you can see on the screen. I looked, smiled, and phoned the mother. And the mother actually narrated me a very interesting story. I believe that it's a very teaching story about what dad means. Luca's dad is imprisoned at the moment and is about to release. Let's not go into details about the reasons of imprisonment. It doesn't really matter. This person invents a story from the prison. He finds people who allows him to get papers, he writes story and sends us a publication. And this book is written by a dad from the prison, and a very mischievous kid tries to survive, and the dad haven't seen him in this life. And Luca, the same, but they try to find each other, and they believe that their father is about to release. When Lucas said me at that time, the second magician, I realized that I'm competing with his father, and I'm so glad that I'm losing and the dad won. But the story tells me a lot. In fact, we can do everything. We can do even more than we believe, and the most important part is just to dream. And Lavrik's story, the fairy tale that gives me strength and understanding that there is no situation you cannot remain as a human being. The same applies to the dead. The drawing on the right was produced by Luca a couple of weeks ago. There is a dad, mom, recently born niece, and Luca's uncle in his 9 years. But I believe that if dad behaved differently, he would never appear on the drawing. I don't know what happened, but anyway, this story tells it a lot. It tells it what we can when we dream. Personally, I invent fairy tales and stories. When I read these stories, I just believe that there is orthographic mistakes or there is style errors, but actually it's overshadowed by all action of the dad who just wrote in the paper and drew. Actually, this action was very precious to me. A couple of words about myself. When I was describing this topic, I would say that at the end, I would wrote about my book on parents, and I was a protagonist of 22 and not 42, actually. And then I follow my lecture. If there would be a time, I will explain why I was a protagonist of 22 and not 42 or 48. When I was gone to prepare this lecture with Suzanne, with Ren, I really believe that one of the key moments in my presentation should center about the authority and the image, reputation, personal stories, personal cases should allow a kid to grow as a decent man and to retain relations. To what extent the reputation and the image is crucial. Actually, I paid particular attention to the work done, and also subscribe to the webinar 2 weeks ago. I was a person who described it a lot, and at some point, I just crossed out. Why? Because I would like to speak something different. I would like to call you. If dads are listening to me, once again, I would like to let you know that I'm a specialist in undesired behavior of the kids. These kids are not guilty. It's not their fault. It's just their lie that went around like this. But every single time I face the stories in growing numbers, the dads are leaving, the dads are abandoning, the dads are rejecting those children. It's really a pain to me. And the recent ad, which pops up weekly in every group, how to combat them. Spouse who rejects to recognize the kid as such, and there is a very good excuse. I was like that. If you listen to me, there is a mischievous and very active, maybe uncomfy kid in your home, so please don't turn around. Once again, everything is feasible. You should not be Lucas' father and to write a fairy tale from the prison. You can write your fairy tales right at the home and just to get understanding how to give a chance to this kid to grow. There is a lot of statistics. Actually, it's not available, but when you speak with some centers, with spots who actually work with kids like that, you could hear the frightening figures. They frighten me as a specialist and the person who has been working on these topics for long. The data I received from one of the specialized schools shows me that 70% of families do not have a father, and it's very frightening because it should be the other way around, or it should be different. 4 years ago, I was working in oncological department. There was just one case is pretty enough when dads stood up and left. I just paid visits to them, and when I was sitting in front of the dad, I was asking, what happened? I say, I couldn't survive. I couldn't resist. And I said, what didn't you stand up? Because you didn't even try to handle the situation. Yeah, just you didn't put your kid in your hands. Yeah, just you left before the very moment of the frightening. Just yes, it's very heavy. Yes, it's horrible, but actually it's feasible. You have to overcome yourself. You have to compose yourself. I don't want to show you any sociological surveys which would let you know in how to understand this point. And I really believe that we need to know how to overcome the situation. Even if one dad comes back to the family, I would never be frightened with a kid. So don't be shy because of your kids. Never be shy because of your kid. If someone said that you should be ashamed of your kid, no, they should be ashamed. This is your kid, and you're his father, and he would recognize yourself and recognize as such. Just I crossed image or the hero word, because who works on this point knows it well. Just you need to gain reputation. So first you need to be together. It's very challenging, but it's feasible. It's anyway feasible if you even work together and if you pay a lot of time, not to the family, but to the work, personal development, and they generally say, okay, the dad should work, there is no enough time. Yes, I work a lot as well. I work so much. I've got customers from America, just stood up in the evening, and I would like to communicate with the customers, and I go asleep early in the morning, but I always claim that to tell you don't have time in 21st century, it's self-deception. The story I received through WhatsApp was a story of an unfamiliar person. I just met a granny who told me about her granddaughter. Just when This guy was sick and just he couldn't find his way to America, but he found a very simple method. Just he would like to narrate the story to them, to his daughter, just to his granddaughter, twice through WhatsApp. What happened? The granddad passed away. That granddaughter never met her granddad, but he wrote a note, and she said, "I would like to grasp you. I would like to kiss you." You know, these words are worth a lot. And the granddad committed a very decent action. He showed what love is to the kid. He showed to his granddaughter what loving is. I believe that it's sort of a habit or a skill. First, we need to show it to our kids, and we've got ability to show, and that should not be missed, because otherwise the kids grow up differently. There are so many situations we're not guilty of, specifically when there is unexpected or undesired behavior of the kids. We need to accept them as such. If some fathers ask, so please let me know the instruments, how to tackle the situation, I say, look at your father, look at your granddad. The granddads are kind of folk that anyway love their kids. I always said that the first children are in fact grandkids, and just granddads and grannies always may find the time for their kids. If you would like to have a living example, these are our grannies and granddads. The topic I work a lot and frequently referred to is divorced dads. One of my customers just is from Israel, and his name is Mikhail Golitsyn. First, I treated with a green, just what should I teach? They're adults and they will get out from the situation. But there is a topic I would like to raise anyway. If the fathers who came and just listened to my webinar, I would like to let them know I respect the people who fight over being a dad, fight over enter the family to be not just a spouse of the moms, but also dad. But the most interesting, I witnessed that these people are ready and they're really motivated to do everything to hear how the kid calls him a dad. Actually, it's a stalemate situation, because was another person comes to the family, just very frequently biological father disappeared. He believed that he's divorced and left the former spouse as such, and he may not see the kid. No, not this way. Your relationship by no means impact the kids. When we start thinking that anyway we have to remain as human beings, we need to remain as dads if we have kids. And in my book I always read, so please love, appreciate your mothers, because they made you dads. I would like to narrate an Iron story. I was just working with one kid, and just he had a big challenge before the school, and we actually designed a program to let him go to the first forum timely. Just the kid was after divorce of their parents, and the new dad came. It's another person. He was not a biological father. Biological father did not participate in teaching and education, and when he left, he said, well, I don't want to see you any longer. I don't want to judge this person. I just would like to narrate about the two drawings on the left. I specifically keep it, and by permission of the family I showed, and Slava phoned me and said, I would like to be a father of this kid. And I said, let's draw and you will see by your own. So do everything in order to have a solid environment. If we have a look over the numbers, it's just 1 month past that we moved to Slava. dad is nearby. He's not on the drawing. Uncle Slava is written up there. Just 4 months past. It's not that big time frame. And there is another writing, just dad, mom, and me. This person just changed fundamentally everything in me. I believe that a dad who's taught you, who's brought you up, just it's not the person. It's not the person who pays alimonies or the person who just made you pregnant. Just no. It's a webinar. It's a everyone may plant the tree. Yes, it's very easy to plant the tree, but to bring it up, to teach it, to protect from the drought, to water it timely, to protect from the winds, it's very hard. And to be a dad, like a Slava, I will say that I could be proud of this person. It was a personal experiment, a personal test, and I believe that it was a right step. I never asked about the biological father. He is alive, just maybe he's in another family, and there are so many dads like that. And it's not about a specific instrument. If we decide and appoint our relations, it will be easier. At the bottom, just was a statement. I, son, who grew up without father. Just I was when I met him, he was granddad. Just my kids believe that their dad is the best dad in the world. It's very controversial statement. Just one person listened to me and says, "I would like to come back to my son." I don't want to touch upon the understanding that family reunification is a different topic. And if you're interested, you may refer to us, address us in Fathers in Divorce Project. We will enable you with instruments, and if you would like, you could restore your family. I would like to say it's never late. For 2 years, I've never communicated with my family. Just let's think about reunification. Just one question. If you would like to come back to your son, just you need to take responsibility to come back every single week, not once a year. It's not like just to have a photo to put it in the Instagram and Facebook and disappear again. If you're an egoist, you should not. If you're a selfish person, you should not make your kid selfish as well. It's a very painstaking topic, and I say we cannot resist. And I have to admit that you didn't start to lift this load, to leave this car. And I would say that it's not something you should do. It's again the nature, but it's your decision which nature you need to be a part of. These two photos, mom, I love you. You're the best mom. I love you. Dad, you're cool and you're handsome. I love you. 2 weeks ago, a kid wrote to his social father, not biological one, a father who came and decided to be a dad. He had recommendations with me, and now he's 200% father. Here you could see a compilation of the kids' drawings, which are in fact do not contain any graph, no reports. I would like to speak out with you and call you to understand that dad's role is very clear. How to become a father. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's challenging. You need to take an action, and some people fail, but it's possible. And in fact, all of us make fun that there is a question, why do we need superheroes if there is a dad? Yes, I do agree, but I do believe that these notes should be prepared thanks to the actions of the dad, and dads do everything so that these notes appear. Hopefully there would be as more notes like that. I could post it Next year, when I would be positioned to speak out in Baku, I will narrate other stories about the dads. There are lots of stories like that. I would let you know about one experience we had with Dads in Divorce project, when dads are really motivated to have a good relations with their kids. But, well, I recommend them my fairy tale. When I listen to voice communication service of the dad stood up and just he's a magician, and I believe that there is a wonder. We could do everything. I will narrate another story. My dad shared, dad shared with me. Actually, it's a story about the actions that could teach you a lot and enable you to understand the actions. The dad stated, I believe that they need to give me the gifts because the kids, all of us learn to listen to their adults. And 2 or 3 days ago, I just heard that my kids forgot about my birthday and were not going. What the dad did, he purchased a gift, and he knew that every kid has a dream to come true. For his own birthday, he gave gifts to his kids without anything instead. And when kids said, "Dad, it's your birthday," and he smiled to say, "Yes, it's my birthday, and it's very nice for my birthday to give the best gifts to my kids." I know that Jordan would like these trainers. I know that you like these books, you these games, and so on. This is a gift to make understand the volume of the understanding. And what happened was a mom's birthday. All 3 kids were preparing for the mom's birthday. They just consulted, they raised money for the present. It's a tiny step, it's just a tiny way out, and it may do a lot. Don't tell, I don't believe in the worlds. They may be very beautiful, but you need to have an action behind. You could say 100 times a day, "I love you," but if I don't approach and kiss you in the evening, there is no love. You may remember Gassan, but Gassan failed to come to his daughter, and you are the person who are working. We're working days and nights, and one day a week we could spend our time with kids. There are so many devices that allow you to do so. So therefore I say you need to try, you need to be inspired, and you will proceed. I would like to recite a small passage from my book. Before, I would like to let you know about one Jewish tradition I like so much and appreciate so much, and I always say about that to our customers, irrespective of their background, and it should be mandatory. Friday is a Sunday, and we celebrate it on Saturday, and there is a table. Every member of the family sits around, but the kids should be prepared 1 week prior to this assembly. On Friday evening, after all prayers and after dinner, the dad should let the kids know what it should be prepared for. The kid is gonna for meeting. The kid is gonna to speak about around the table to all family members. That's very nice. It makes people united. It gives you a confidence that the most important is not to listen, is not to hint anyone. The most important is just to sit to the very end and listen to this historical recounts about the developments you cannot compare with anything else. And at the end, I would say that I'm so happy that I lost to the magician Luca's father. I just am so happy that I met Slava. I'm really rejoiced that Alex invited me to the Dads and Divorce project. I would like you change. You would like to take kids differently, because your treatment to kids, it's your treatment to yourself, and the bridge is the mother of the kids. I would like to finish my presentation with one Jewish recount. It's in every single language. The big family are just everything messy, they're in misery, the kids are mischievous, and the father goes to Rabbi and asks, so please understand my situation. So at that time, there was no behavior analysis, and I asked, Rabbi asked, what your mother, what your spouse like? And they say, my kids are mischievous. And they said, just I would like to, she likes something sweet, or so please go and purchase something sweet. He came 1 week later and say, I purchased, and say again, please purchase something sweet. But I say, there is no money for my kids. And just but if there is a happy mother in the family, the kids would be happy immediately. Just so please make the mothers of your kids happy, and you would feel better in this house. You will have a better environment. No matter if you left your home, if you're divorced, you should not leave this home forever. You need to stay. Just maybe it may be once a week. Communication. At the end, I would like to explain you why I'm introduce myself a 22-year person, not 48. Maybe at least one person would like to listen to me, to overhear me in order to change. So that's my personal success. If you'd like to listen my story and to read the story for now, just I would like to share at least a passage with you, because I believe that it makes people together. Thank you so much for your attention. It was very nice to participate at your event. Thanks for your invitation.